Ancient Egypt, Mary Magdalene, initiation. Are these words pulling you in or pushing you away? Because that means something. My second question is, do you feel called to live a spiritual life, but you don't fully resonate with the existing religions? Because if that's true for you, then I've recorded this video for you, because this is the language of your soul speaking through inner knowings, intuition, desires. And this could potentially mean that your soul wants you to walk the path of the goddess. So in this video, we are going to see exactly what is that path of the goddess? Why is there suddenly a rise of the feminine? What happened in the past thousands of years? Because the goddess was present, now it's coming back. And 5 signs that your soul wants you to walk this path. And what it means for your purpose, for who you came here to be. What it means about who you really are. And this is important because this video is much more than just information and knowing what this path is. It's about reclaiming part of your essence. And when you do, it helps you to know so much better what your path is, what your purpose is, what direction is the direction that's going to be the most fulfilling for you. Because when you don't really know who you are, you end up in situations that are misaligned. You end up in relationships that are not aligned for you, that are not fulfilling for you, that will hurt you more than they will nourish you. And I know that to be true because I've been there. I married someone and we divorced 6 months later because I finally started listening to myself. Yes, I could have done that before. But I just had too many fears and I didn't know who I was. And only when I started listening to my inner wisdom, to the voice within, I started remembering. So this is what this video is about, to help you remember who you really are. And I invite you to pay close attention because in between the words and the teachings, there's frequency, there's remembrance, there's an activation of your soul. If you don't know me, I'm Eléonore de Posson. I'm a spiritual teacher, ordained priestess, master healer, author of The Path of Femininity, this book, and founder of the Sacred Roots Mystery School. And it is my absolute passion and joy to help spiritual women entrepreneurs really lead with their soul, their purpose, their feminine energy, so that they can make the impact that they came here to make and leave the world a better place, while having so much fun along the way, live with flow, magnetism, and abundance. So on this journey, I really asked myself, what happened to us women? Because patriarchy wasn't always here. Patriarchy only started 5,000 years ago. So what happened all these years before? Where did patriarchy really come from? And why is it that women really seem to struggle so much more than men with this fear of being too much or not enough? This fear of being seen for who you really are, being seen in the spotlight, sharing your gifts with the world, expressing your woo-woo spiritual self. Why is it that we struggle to express our intuitive knowing? And we have a tendency to push and hustle and act like men, when the truth is that we function completely differently. And so I asked myself these questions, and I really wanted to trace back the moment where women lost power. And I realized that there's a direct connection between the suppression of woman and the suppression of the goddess. So patriarchy, which means men at the power, but also masculine values of power, control, pushing, doing, these arrived only around 3000 BCE. Before that, spiritual leaders, archaeologists, and historians have found that for 40,000 years, there was no trace of violence on the earth. There was no trace of abuse on the earth. There were no traces of wars, of conflict, and there were a lot of civilizations that were matriarchal, matristic. They were led by women who were queens and high priestesses, and they had men around them to support them. But a man would only become a king if he married a queen. It was through his marriage that he became a king. Pretty much the opposite today in most countries. And what happened is that in 3000 BC, patriarchal tribes started arriving from the north in Eastern Europe, India, and they arrived on horses with weapons. And these matristic tribes were based on harmony, peace, connection to the divine. They considered the divine to be a goddess, and that goddess held both principles, the feminine and the masculine. She was often represented by statues that had these beautiful breasts, this beautiful large birthing belly, pregnant belly, but instead of a head, she had a phallus. So these statues that they have found like in so many different countries like Turkey, Mesopotamia, and Sumeria, these statues really represented the divine as an androgyne, feminine and masculine, but she was called the goddess because she was the birther of the universe. And women are the birthers. And so these tribes and civilizations also considered woman to be the portal to the divine and the human incarnation and representation of the divine on earth. And so eventually, as these patriarchal tribes arrived, it was very easy for them to take over these tribes because they didn't know how to fight. They had no earthworks to protect their villages. They had no weapons. And so they took over these tribes and they imposed their male gods. And they imposed the worship of these male gods. And so at first we see that these male gods were often then married to the goddess that was present. So for a few centuries and millennia, you have god, goddess, you have both. But then around 500, 600 BCE, with the fall of Jerusalem, there were more and more prophets that kept saying, no, it's Yahweh only, it's God only, he's a masculine. All the chaos, all the wars are happening because of the goddess worship. And so the worship of the goddess, I'm like making the story really short for you because there's so much more to it. But around the fall of Jerusalem in 587 BC, if I'm not mistaken, that's when the goddess worship became completely forbidden. And with the suppression of the goddess came the suppression of woman, because we women were that human incarnation of the goddess on earth. And we women are designed to have a relationship with God, goddess. Or cerebellum, the part of our brain, of our back brain, that is the center of our intuition, of our emotions, of our sense of oneness and connection to all that is much bigger than in men. And that simply means that we are designed, it's in our biology, to be more intuitive, to be a bridge between the seen and the unseen, the spiritual and the material. And yes, we are a bridge through our wombs because we birth souls that come on earth through our bodies. We are portals, but we are so much more than that because we don't just birth babies, we birth ideas, projects, civilization, queendoms, new ways of being, because we are led by our intuition, by the divine that whispers words of wisdom, guidance, clarity in our ears, and that we then follow. And so as the goddess got suppressed, and as we weren't able to pray her, to honor her, to give her offerings, we lost our connection to our higher self, to our inner wisdom, to our truth as well. And priests became the intermediary between the divine and humans, and men started to have much more power as well. And so imagine what would happen if the fall of the goddess meant the fall of women, but mostly of humanity, because this is when wars started. Imagine what would happen to our civilization. Imagine what would happen to humanity if we brought the goddess back. If we brought our direct connection to the divine. Because this is what the path of the goddess is. The path of the goddess is a path that you're walking when you want to have a direct connection with Source, when you believe it's your birthright and your ability to have a direct connection and a relationship that is unique to you, to the divine. The path of the goddess is a path that considers all life sacred, that considers life to be, all living beings to be interconnected. It's really the path of the heart, of love, of wisdom. And of course, it's also the path of developing your intuition, your spiritual gifts, to expand and have that deeper connection with the unseen, with the goddess. And the path of the goddess really believes that the divine is within you and without. It's this concept of immanence. You are God incarnate, goddess incarnate, and God, goddess is also present in everything around you. That is the path of the goddess. And this path also invites you and pushes you to be responsible of your own relationship with the unseen, with the divine. And that also means being responsible of your own evolution. So it is really putting on your own shoulders to study, to research, to have experiences, to walk the path, to really understand what is the divine. What does that mean to live with immanence? What does that mean to have God within me and around me? What does that mean if we are all connected? What does it mean to really see everything, every living being, every situation as sacred? What does that mean for my life? Because you can hear these principles and it can awaken something in you. But if it's just intellectual, it doesn't mean much. What does that really mean for your life? For your work? For your purpose? For your relationships? For your finances too? For your health? It permeates everything in your life. And it is your responsibility to find answers to these questions, to walk this path. Nobody can walk this path for you. And there are 5 signs that your soul is craving to walk this path. And that maybe you already are walking this path, whether you are aware of it or not. So let's dive in and have a look at what these 5 signs are and how they reveal that this is the path of your soul and that you are supporting this great awakening of the return of the goddess, the return of the divine feminine. Because it's not about, pushing down God and the masculine God. It's actually about remembering that it's Father, Mother, God, as Yeshua was calling it. It's Divine Mother, Divine Father expressed within the goddess. This is really what it is. So let's dive into these 5 signs. I'm keeping you hanging here. The first one is that you want a direct connection to Source. Maybe it's more than just wanting, you feel that you already have it. And it just doesn't feel right to you to have to go to church or to priest to be able to speak to the divine. You feel you have it within. This is one sign. Second sign, you want to develop your intuition, your clairs, your psychic gifts. And that makes total sense because the more you develop it, the more you can be a bridge between the seen, the unseen, the spiritual and the material. The more you can nourish, nurture, and entertain this relationship with God, Goddess. A third sign that this path is calling you is that you consider all life sacred, all living beings. Maybe you feel called to be a vegetarian. Now, if you love eating meat, that doesn't mean that this path is not meant for you, because I don't think there's right or wrong, and there's much more to this topic. It can really depend on the journey of our soul and what energies we are meant to elevate through eating it, alchemizing it in our bodies. Like, there's so much more to that. But if you consider all life sacred, and you see God within everything, within a child, within a stone, within a tree, within the forest, within the wind, within the clouds, within the stars. You are called to walk the path of the goddess. If you consider life to be interconnected and all of us to be one, then you're walking the path of the goddess. And finally, the fifth sign that you're called to walk the path of the goddess and that this is the path your soul is actually walking is that you believe in life after death. You do not consider that this life is just you're born, you experience a few things for 80, 90, 100 years, and then you leave. No, you have an inner knowing that there was life before being a baby, and there's going to be life after, when your soul leaves the physical body. Maybe you don't have exact clarity of what that is. Maybe you are fascinated by near-death experiences. I am. My father had one, and so I've grown up with that story, and this fascinates me. Maybe you've read many books about it, or maybe you have a knowing that past lives exist and you just believe in something greater than just one life and done. How many of these signs do you have? How many of these resonate with you? If you have 2, 3 or more, I would say you are walking the path of the goddess. This is part of what your soul craves. This is your soul's deepest desire, because walking this path means that eventually you will reach what is called moksha in Sanskrit. It really means union with the divine. And moksha is eternal bliss. It's a happiness you don't come back from, because you are one with God, with the light of the Creator, with Source, with Spirit. And you are goddess incarnate, and you express yourself as the goddess that you are, with your own uniqueness that is connected to your soul's essence. So walking the path of the goddess is a very sacred path that permeates everything that you do. That doesn't mean you need to be a priestess, a witch, a coach, a healer. It can be, you can express it through that, but you can walk the path of the goddess as a lawyer, as a real estate agent, as an entrepreneur, as a tech nerd. It's really more about allowing your divine essence and the divine to be expressed through the vessel that you are. And if you don't know where to begin for that journey, if you don't know how to keep walking the path of the goddess, and you're really feeling the goddess calling you, I would invite you to begin with learning, because the more you can learn about this, the more it's going to lift the veil. All this information, all this wisdom is already present within you. Hearing it is just helping you remember what you already know. And part of what we come here to do as souls is to learn and to remember. So read books, find teachers, join a membership that can help you learn and remember and reclaim this ancient wisdom that is already vibrating in your cells. The second thing that I would invite you to do is to surround yourself with sisters that are on the same path. Maybe it's friends that you can speak about this. Maybe it's by joining an online membership. I have one. Reach out if you're interested in doing that. Maybe it's joining a retreat. Maybe it's going to Women's Circle. Find spaces where you can walk hand in hand with women who are walking this path of the goddess, this spiritual path to divine union, and making your life sacred. Because especially for us women, who are beings of community, we thrive when we come together, when we can remember together, when we can be seen and witnessed in our divine essence by others. It's hard for us to see ourselves. I wouldn't be able to see myself if I didn't have a mirror. So we act as mirrors for each other when we come together in sisterhood. And the third thing that I would invite you to do is deprogram, decondition the patriarchal, the masculine values that are ruling your life without even realizing it. And so that doesn't mean, men. It's about the masculine qualities and how when you're too much in your masculine, when you're doing, when you're pushing, when you're hustling, when you're giving, when your energy is very outward, which is all that the world is praising, it doesn't work for us women because we are not built like that. Masculine energy is warm energy. It burns. It burns you out. Your nervous system gets fried and burnt out from doing so much. Whereas feminine energy is cold, it's cool, it's the night, it's connected to the moon. And your energy is more inward, more reflective, more intuitive, more emotional. And it's not that one is bad and the other is good. We need both. Especially if you have a business, you're going to need that masculine energy. But it's about leading with the feminine. Leading with the vision, leading with the intuition, leading with the magnetism, leading with the flow, leading with the inner knowing, and allowing your masculine to be the support system to your feminine, to your vision, to your dreams, to your intuition. It's a sacred dance, but you can only step into that sacred dance if you decondition the masculine way of doing it and you reclaim your feminine gifts and your feminine essence. So begin by reading the book. That's a very easy way, but I also have a free way to support you with that because I've created a 60-minute free training, a masterclass that's called From Hustle to Ease, that is going to help you stop hustling, pushing, being in the overwhelm, the stress, trying to achieve so much. There's so much that's put on our shoulders today as women, and instead reclaim your intuition, your flow, your magnetism, your soul alignment, your relationship to the goddess. So in this 60-minute training, I'm teaching you a very simple and actionable plan to do that. It's free. All you need to do is click the link that's underneath this video, and then you'll get access to it. So I highly recommend that you do that as well. And I have linked to this video as well another video that you can watch, which is all about why you're not meant to fit in. If you're meant to walk this path, you're definitely not meant to fit in. You are probably the black sheep of your family. You're here because you feel more, you're different, you see things that others don't see, and it's part of your gifts. So this is a beautiful video as well if that's resonating with you. Let me know in the comments what this is bringing up, how you're walking the path of the goddess, if this is something that you've been walking for a long time, or if this video is like eye-opening and you don't know where to begin. Like I said, learn about all of this, surround yourself by like-hearted sisters, and watch the training that I've made for you. This is going to be super, super helpful for you. And then subscribe to this channel if you want to learn more, to stay connected, because I'm publishing a video every week and I can't wait to support you more. Have a beautiful day and I'll see you next week.